Well, hello, and welcome to Stop. Let's Team Up. Hey, I'm Ross Aiken, and we are back with our Liberty Legion coverage. Took a little break so we could talk to David Banks about the amazing Micronauts reconstruction restoration project. It was amazing to talk to him, amazing to hear about the great work and see some of the samples he had. Follow him at Twitter. I'll put a link in this episode too, because I think it's important. It's going to make me dig out my reprints of the first 12 issues of Micronauts because they're absolutely amazing, gorgeous. Both the Marvel series were that Micronauts and Micronauts: The New Voyages. Well worth your find if you can dig them up. Sadly, no reprints anywhere. There was a Marvel series that did, I think, 5 issues, and it reprinted the first 12. It might have been 6 issues. I don't really remember because they're in a box, and I don't want to dig them out. But I want to dig them out. But I will dig them out because I got to file some comics, and I do want to reread them because I love reading great comic books, and Bill Mantlo, My Golden Micronauts are beyond great comic books. They are... I'm not a big fan of licensed comics. I love that, and I love DRAM. If I was independently wealthy, I would buy complete runs of both and maybe just do Marvel Toy Comics podcast. Who knows? But today, what we're going to do is we're covering part 4 of our Liberty Legion coverage, and it is Marvel Premeire number 30. So let us get down and dirty with the basics, and then I'll tell you what I thought about it. So, Marvel Premeire Volume 1, number 30, release date March 2nd, 1976, cover date June 1976. So I was 11 years old when this came out, and I would have read it when it came out. My brother was handing me this stuff. Was handing it to me, and I think I've said that over and over again. So let's do the story is titled, Hey Ma, They're Blitzing the Bronx. Love the title. And this is written by Roy Thomas, penciler Don Heck, inker Vinnie Coletta, colorist Phil Raish, letterer John Costanza, editor Roy Thomas. Cover by Jack Kirby and Frank Giacomo. It's a beautiful Jack Kirby 1970s cover. With the Red Skull standing there in his green uniform with the black swastika on his chest with monitors. It's gorgeous. It is the corner box, old Marvel corner box. It has the faces, which I love. About this time in most like Avengers, it was just a single character. I think the faces are coming back. X-Men have it, the Cockrum ones, and then eventually the Burn ones, but it's neat. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Marvel corner boxes. They're cool, especially if you're a comic reader my age. So, Liberty Legion roll call. Bucky leaves group to rejoin the invaders. He was gone for all of 2 issues. Thin Man, Patriot, Blue Diamond, Jack Frost, Red Raven, Miss America, and the Wizard. Invaders lineup: Captain America, the Steve Rogers version, Submariner, Toro, and the original Human Torch. And the antagonists are Red Skull and Dr. Krieghound, Wilhelm von Stroheim, who dies in this issue. First appearance of Fred Davis, who will go on to be partners with William Nanslin. He'll be the Bucky for the Spirit of 76, and then the Bucky to Jeff Mace. And he will join the V Battalion, and they will use him. He'll come back up in other comics, including Winter Soldier, which I may look into, because I haven't read all this. I read the Cap story where the evil 50s, Captain America comes back, and I read all this when they made the What If become canon. And it's interesting, but he is the second Bucky, not the third. And it's neat, and it's fun. Now let me just give you the little synopsis that is here in the Marvel database. Bucky and the Thin Man briefly engage the Torch in battle, but the Torch slips away while they're distracted instead of finishing them off. Torch returns to the Skull's hidden base, which turns out to be directly below the radio station. As the Nullitron slaves are programmed to return to the machine that controls them, the Skull dons his disguise as industrialist Mr. Lyles and goes upstairs to meet with the Legion, who reintroduce him to Toro, who Red Raven and Whizzer captured earlier, and who now seems to be free of his mind control. Lyles demands proof of Toro's identity, so Toro jumps out of the window, and moments later, a flaming V is seen, burning a V sign in the sky. His confidence shaken, the Skull returns to his lab to reinforce the Null Array's control on the remaining invaders, broadcast another challenge to the Legion to fight the invaders at Yankee Stadium, and to move his operations to a hydrogen Zeppelin. Not the best idea, Red Skull. In an attempt to dodge Toro's homing instinct in case it still works. The next day, the Liberty Legion and the invaders meet in Yankee Stadium to fight it out in front of a packed house. In the midst of the action, Bucky and Toro sneak off and reveal that Bucky is disguised as Toro, the Yankees' Bat Boy was disguised as Bucky, and Miss America had done all the fiery flight demonstration earlier. They had already figured out that Lyles was an imposter, and the invaders were drawn back to the source of their hypnosis. So at that point, they untie and revive the real Toro and set him loose. He flies straight for the Skull Zeppelin, which explodes due to the hydrogen gas. Come on, Red Skull. Basic chemistry. With the Nullitron destroyed, the invaders are instantly freed from their control, and they team up with the Liberty Legion and save the civilians from the falling Zeppelin debris. With the crisis past, two teams meet peacefully for the first time and rededicate themselves to the war effort, with the invaders moving forward in Europe while the Legion stays home to protect the home front. Okay. I like it. It was good. The art, good on heck. Not, I don't want to say badly. It works better this issue than it did in in Marvel Premeire 29 for me, but slightly. I think Vinny looks good on Frank Robbins in the Invader part, Invader 6. I had issues with the consistency of the art in Invaders 5, but it was a mixed match of people. But this one was pretty solid. It's a solid Roy story. And to be honest, looking at Don's art in this and some of the layouts and what's going on, like there's some stage posy kind of. I think it's not they're not doing an homage to say a 40s comic, but more it's just standard Silver Age comic writing, Roy's writing, and we're going to see Roy do some of this stuff in All-Star. The plotting wise and kind of the story structure and the feel of nostalgia and historical touchstones, because he wants to be accurate to what's going on historically, that he does better, in my opinion, in All-Star Squadron, especially the first 30 or 40 issues. But it's not a huge difference. I think Invaders is very much a Marvel comic. He had to bring in what characters he could. I just am not a big a fan with the Marvel 40s characters as I am with the DC. And that's just a personal aesthetic, a personal take. And I'm also better versed in them. I mean, I've read more of them, and they were more available to me in reprint form. But all that said, it's a fun comic. These have been fun comics. So I recommend you check them out. They're on the app. I have them in the thing, Liberty Legion hardcover. I love a hardcover. I'm just starting my collection in a way. I canceled all my floppies for Marvel and DC at my local comic shop, Velocity Comics, Richmond, Virginia. Check them out. Ron and Patrick are amazing. It's a great shop. They get some good back issues. They have the best collection of trades you've ever seen. Superhero, non-superhero, some great independent work by independent creators. Check them out. I will leave a link to their. I'll leave their, phone number and location so you can look them up. I am not on Facebook. I avoid Facebook. It's just personal preference for my social media. I'm going to keep it simple to Instagram and Twitter, where I can control the algorithm a little bit better. And I want to talk about that some when we're done here, because just want to talk a little bit about fandom and how we communicate. But this is a good comic. Rush out and get it. These are great characters. I would love to see them do another Liberty Legion story. I know they did some Invaders series during the Bendis era of Avengers, some crossovers, the Avengers, Invaders crossovers. I have a beat-up copy of that trade with a couple of torn pages. I got it for like $2. But it's interesting. So please send me suggestions, stuff to read if you have 40s, 40s Marvel character stuff that is available where I can read it digitally or it's available in a good hardback cheaply. I would love your suggestions. So let me know what you think. To some of the thing in the story that I really liked, it was the plot that the when I got to the point that the Red Skull is in the basement and this is all taking place over just a day, you got to put together from the radio, it's all very close to the thing, and the hydrogen and the blimp, which I think is kind of silly. But then again, we wouldn't sell helium to the Germans, and that's why and after the Hindenburg burned, the giant airship, the dirigible business went gone because we wouldn't sell things to Germany because of their war footing, and we had Germany on an embargo and stuff like that. It was an entertaining story. I do kind of like the title made me chuckle, and when I had to say it out loud, it made me chuckle again. Very much like a 1940s song. It sounds like it could be a 1940s war song. I grew up watching a lot of black and white TV, movies on TV and outside of DC in Northern Virginia, and we had Channel 5. It's now a Fox affiliate, but back then it was part of 5 stations that had been DuPont and were independents at that point. And they showed a lot of black and white movies, especially late at night, overnight, and I had trouble sleeping as a kid. And I watched a lot of those 40s movies. My parents are children of the war. They were born prior to the war, weren't old enough to be active in the war. My dad joined the Marine Corps in 1947. He was born when he was like 19 or 18. He was too young to serve in the Second World War. My mother's father was an admiral, and she stayed at home, but she was born in 1930. So when the war was going on, she was just a child. Her older sister was a nurse in the Pacific, though. None of my dad's siblings fought. He had one brother, and my Uncle Jack was deaf. Not completely, but mostly deaf, and was 4F. And so, but this is something that they talked about, being kids of the war. And my dad was kind of like the guy. He had a very high Brooklyn accent. A very sweet man, but career military. But he grew up in Brooklyn. So I think of him being, a 15-year-old kid running around with his older brother and his best friend Bobby. My Uncle Bobby married my aunt. So when the nostalgia takes me back to thinking what my dad was like as a kid. Because he was that kid from New York. He's from the same borough as Steve Rogers. And my dad is my hero. He'll always be my hero. But he was that true blue, do right by everybody that Steve is when Cap has written. Like, my dad didn't look like Cap. He looked like Sean Connery and sounded like Larry King. But he was of that generation and has that same kind of moral compass. And I think to be cheesy, it made me love him even more because he was that guy. He was that guy that would fight for something, but he also fought for the little guy. And so I kind of enjoy these World War II stories when there's a reference to where my dad's from. It's a connection. Art has a connection when you read it, while you're reading it. And then if you read it later, it will have a different one. I've probably said this a bunch of times on this already. Art is how we absorb art, and when we absorb art, and why we absorb art affects the art and our perception of the art. And comics are art. On the most basic level of that word, they are light entertainment too. They are pulp. They're throwaway entertainment. But if you're listening to this, you're not throwing away. Comics mean something to you. And this story was fun. And it meant something to me. And it was nice to go back. My brother, I'm going to thank my brother Huey here again on this for handing me comics like this, because they're important to me. I did a couple things on Twitter yesterday, which would have been the 22nd of April, I think. I'm not looking at a calendar, so I'm not going to look at a calendar if I figure it out. But I posted my 9 Avengers, a lineup to my perfect lineup, and it was reflective of what I was feeling yesterday. And it was Monica Rambeau, Photon as the leader, as it should be. The Wasp, Captain America, the Beast, Hawkeye, Sandman. Yes, Sandman, the villain. He was an Avenger briefly as a reserve member, and they just never did anything about it. And then he became a villain again, and I think it's a huge missed opportunity. I also have... it had the Falcon, the Black Knight, and Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. And it got some mixed people complimented on it. And everybody, guys my generation wanted to see a little more Wonder Man in there, and I get it. Billy recommended Wonder Man. And Scarlet Witch. I was surprised Vision wasn't on this list, but I wanted something that more reflective today. And the books change. I did a post too about my top 5 Avenger writers: Steve Englehart, Roy Thomas, Kurt Busiek, Roger Stern, and Jim Shooter. I think we're all in there. And then I went to my comic shop, and Pat, who's an Avenger fan, he added Jason Hickman. And I need to go back and revisit Jason Hickman's Avengers. I think it's an incredible run. It is incredibly dense. I'm enjoying the Jason Aaron's. But, I mean, again, back to you absorb how you perceive yesterday. At that point, I wanted to see... I really liked Kamala Khan when she was in Wade's Avengers. I like having a villain, and I like having younger people, and I want to see a more diverse lineup. And I think some of the more recent additions to the team get overlooked. I think Monica Rambeau is just so overlooked. She's been good at other books. I loved her in Next Wave, Agents of Hate. I liked her in Ultimate Avengers, or The Ultimates, Al Ewing's book. I like Al Ewing. I like Al Ewing a lot. He's a good writer. But, that's, I love those little exercises, and every once in a while. And Avengers is great because they have, like, I did 9 because 7's tough. 7's tough for me because I've been reading that book since 1972. But I digress. But I appreciated the Marvel Premeire 30 a great deal. It was fun. Please check it out. I have a guest recording with me next weekend, and we were going to be discussing some more comic stuff, and I'm going to keep it a secret, I think. I've appeared on his. It is Ron, the host of Fantastic Comic Fan podcast. Check it out. They're short little episodes, great I listen to him when I walk the dog, and he's insightful to what's available digitally across the comic spectrum, and so worth your time. I'm going to listen to the latest All-Star Squadron podcast a little bit later, and it covers issue 50, and it has got the amazing Billy D and Marty Gray talking about a very important issue where Crisis might have made an effect. I love the issue. It was a neat way to deal with some stuff, but I want to hear what they say. I haven't listened, so I'm looking forward to it. So check out A World on Fire. I'm going to pause Liberty Legion, the next 2 parts for that episode. So I will come back with Fantastic Four Annual, I think it's 11, with The Thing teams up with the Invaders. Just I think it's good exercise. I may hold off and maybe do it every couple weeks, or I'll do a special episode and tidy this up because I want to get to something else. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put a poll out of 4 different teams or team-ups that I would like to cover, that I'm interested in talking about. And then I'm going to do another poll about 4 creators that pop in my head for the episode after that. So be looking for that. They're going to go up right after this post later today. And you're going to get this the day I record it because these are easier to edit because it's just me rambling. But I want your input, and I appreciate it. Please, if you want to get in touch, you can send me a direct message on Facebook. I'm at JSA4E. That is JSA, the number 4, the letter E, or at Stop Let's Team Up, one word, no punctuation, at Gmail. I would love to hear from you, good or bad. I did some deep diving in Twitter, and I am a political person, and I lean to the left, but but everybody has to make their own choices based on their world and how politics affect them. So I respect people as much on the right as I do on the left. What I don't really respect is aggressive social media people. I'm lucky I have not had a lot of it. I'm a Doctor Who fan. There's a lot of that going on. Some aggressive opinions. Opinions are fine. Aggressive opinions, I really don't have time for. And I'm lucky. But I just want to say that I appreciate input. I really would like it. I have not had any on this site that is bad. I have had times where people aggressively tell me that my opinion is wrong on a piece of art, a comic I like, an actor I like, a director I like. And I find that an asinine waste of time. Art is subjective. We pick what we like. We discard what we don't like. And I am respectful of that that when someone likes something that I don't, that I want to know why they like it. I want them to try to not explain it. They don't have to explain why they like anything, but I want to kind of hear the story of why you like something, why you read a certain comic book, why a certain character touches you and makes you want to read more of their adventures, what artist inspires you to read more. That's interesting. Difference in taste is interesting to me. Suggest something to me that I may never have read, and I may like it. I have had one of my podcast partners there a couple years of Doctor Who as a Doctor Who fan. I've not been that fond of, but he had such a passion for them that I went back and I reviewed them and tried to watch them in his eyes and see what he saw in them, because he saw them at a different time, in a different age, and they meant something to them, and they didn't do that to me. But when I went back and watched them, they didn't become my favorite Doctor Who stories of all time, but they did move up in my view because I saw that they meant something to somebody. I am not a sword and sorcery. I don't read Conan. It's not something I'm interested in. My brother, though, said, you've got to read it and check it out. And I realized that there's some great stuff out there, and hence I'm a Roy fan, and his stuff's amazing. I'm a huge Kurt Busiek fan. I really am intrigued about reading his Conan because people I respect have talked about it, and that there's a lot of it out there. Kurt Busiek was nice enough to jump in and chat on the feed when we were talking Avengers writers, and made some good points and stuff, that his take on who's good and who's not and why they're good and who not. And I made some comments and he responded, and I really got what he was saying. It didn't become an argument. Or anything silly. It was just two people, and then him and another gentleman had a long conversation that I enjoyed. Two different viewpoints about the same material, and it was polite and interesting and fun. And that's what comics should be. Okay, that's me on my little soapbox about be nice to each other. because I think it's important nowadays with the polarity of discourse for everything and any reason. It is the only way we can control the discourse is be courteous and positive and open to and listen. It is important to listen, and I'm glad you're listening to me gab about comic books written in the 1970s. So, and super team stuff, things that distract me from the harsher things going on in the world. So after that long ramble, let me just say some hopefully quick goodbyes. Thank you for listening. This Wednesday we will be back with My Legion Adventure and the last Supergirl story before we go into Tales of the Legion. I'm so excited to get there, but we got 3 more comics. We got a Supergirl for action, a Superman comic, and an Ultra Boy's first appearance, and I'm so excited about that. And then we'll go into Adventure Comics 300 and the Tales of the Legion. And I may do something in between before we do that. So that's that. You can find us again at JSA4E. You can write us an email at stoplетsteamup@gmail.com. Look out for polls and ideas and suggestions. Please tell me what you like and why. I really want to know suggestions and stuff you want me to cover. There have been some out there that people made at the beginning that I've yet to do. I have been, Jimbo, I know you're listening, been reading some of 3 Boot, and when I get through issue 12, I will do an episode on what I think about it. I'm going to do some George Perez stuff coming. He is on my mind. There was a lovely tribute in DC Comics this week for him. So send me a suggestion of a George Perez team up. Someone, hey, there's some good stuff in Marvel 2-in-1. I got that in hardcover too. So folks, you be good, you be safe, and read some comics, and be kind.